guys, Asher coming at you today with another Raid Shadow Legends Champion Guide. Welcome to the video, guys. Today we're going to take a look at Akoth the Seared. First, a few shout outs to you guys. We have Salsa Master 1252. Salsa Master again coming through looking for Tarshan, Akoth, and Claude Beast Feeder. Just Doka looking for a guide. John L. Cook looking for a Gorlos Helma, Akoth the Seared, as well as Lugan. And then we have Zabtorn. Oh man. He wants Raglan, Leo, Calvalax, who I still need to get. Taragi, who we did a guide on, Canderfon, Tyrant, Skull Crusher. Oh my god, there's a lot to get to there. Shout out to Matthew. Shout out to all of you guys who keep the champion guide requests coming here, including the Wraith of Ka. Let's go ahead and take a look at Akoth, guys. So guys, as I mentioned, I'm curious, where are you guys in the Doom Tower, champion cycle, so to speak, right? These are the normal champions. Akoth the Seared is actually the second guy that you get after Archmage Helmet, who I think behind Dark Kale, I think is probably the strongest rare out of all of these. I don't know if you guys have differing opinions, but I think it would be Dark Kale, Archmage Helmet, and Ryan the Conjurer would be my top three. But Akoth isn't that far off from that number 3 spot. On the hard champions, let me know where you are there as well. I have them all, but I hesitate to do a lot of guides on the hard champions because I know, especially as we go to like Basatha, Vassal, Chromax, Granjar, Ginro, who I actually have ironically done a guide on, I think that fewer and fewer of you guys actually have those champions. But hey, correct me if I'm wrong. Either way, you at least have Akoth the Seared. Otherwise, why you watching the video? So he's a demon spawn. He is an epic, not for my charming personality, that's for sure, right? We have a demon spawn epic champion. He is magic affinity, okay? And man, he looks a lot like his older brother, right? We go back to the guides. Euros the Soul Cage. Look at Euros, man. I mean, they're basically the same character model, but different faction. Undead Horde, blob thing guy, whatever. And then, of course, we get Akoth, the fire thing guy. That's the technical term for it, I think. He's a defense-based epic champion. His base defense, 1300, is pretty good, especially for an epic. Almost 17k on the HP. That's about average, I would say. Maybe slightly below for a defense-based champion. We have on Molten Punch's A1 ability, attacks one enemy with a decreased crit rate for 2 turns. That's a 75% decreased crit rate. A lot of newer players might not realize, but a 30% decreased crit rate is enough of a debuff, right? Decreased crit rate, not something we talk about a lot here on the channel. That's enough to mitigate critical hits from any boss, okay? Most bosses in the game have a 15% critical rate. It's not like, going against champions. People think that, 100% crit rate mandatory. That's not how bosses in this game work. And mobs for that matter, right? Other champions that you face, decreased crit rate is going to be incredibly powerful. But here on a single target on the A1 at a dependable land rate, it's a good ability here. Pyroclasm on his A2. This is a 3-turn cooldown, and you can book it out, but only for damage. So really, if you're just looking for the burn on this dude for Spider, you can save your epic skill tomes, especially if you don't have many to burn. No pun intended. So attacks all enemies, has a 20% chance of placing an HP burn debuff for 2 turns, again on a 3-turn cooldown. The chance of placing the debuff increases by 20% for each alive enemy, or each enemy alive. So how do we feel about this ability, right? Well, it's an AoE burn on a 3-turn cooldown. The bad news is it's only 20% chance of landing, and you can't book that up. Against Spider, in a Spider situation, it's always going to land, because there's always going to be enough mobs, at least 4, little Spiderlings alive, to make sure that it brings it up to 100% land rate. So specifically against Spirit Affinity Spider, he's going to be great. Magic Affinity, same thing as Void, right? Against Force Affinity, probably looking for another burner, but hey, you could probably get by with him as well. He's still going to land his burns, right? On some of the Spiderlings, and it's going to tick on everybody. On the A3 ability, this is a 4-turn cooldown when booked, attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of increasing the duration of all skills, by 2 turns on enemies under HP burn debuffs. Also places a shield buff equal to 20% of this champion's max HP on all allies for 2 turns. Instantly activates this skill when this champion's revived by Ryan the Conjurer, which is a pretty cool kind of add-on companion ability. You're going to get Ryan as, the next, I believe, right? the next Doom Tower champion. We just looked at it and I already forgot. Yeah, she's number 3. So, you know, eventually you're going to get your hands on both of these champions. I'll say that they go well together. They go kind of well together, but they're not going to be a game changer. On Ryan's revive, whenever she revives anybody, she's also, it's a single target revive normally. She's also going to revive Akoth the Seared and Euros' Soul Cage. And then he has the instant activation after that of the A3, which provides everybody a nice shield. Shield really, to me, is the name of the game with this AoE on the A3. Let's look at his multipliers really quickly. Actually, let's look at his passive first. Has a 25% chance when booked of placing a fear debuff on an enemy for 1 turn whenever they receive damage from an HP burn debuff placed on themselves. So an HP burn debuff. You don't need the placed on themselves. It's a very wordy kit here that we have on Akoth the Seared, right? And then last but not least, his HP in all battles by 25%, which is a really good aura. Obviously can be used anywhere and everywhere. Curse City, you name it, Spider, whatever, on this champion. So an all battle aura we absolutely love. Let me look at his multipliers right now because this will inform. Let's just take a quick champion overview here on hellhades.com before I show you the build that I have him in today. And we talk about where he can be used and where, frankly, I'm not a big fan of him. And I think this is probably going to buck the trend, at least on hellhades.com. They give him a perfect 5 out of 5 in Frost Spider. Moreover, they mention him, Frost Spider here, with AoE HP burns abilities, shielding himself, and having a chance of a fear mechanic. They say that he's a beast for Frost Spider in Doom Tower. And again, that's a 5 out of 5 ranking. I'm not super keen on this guy for Frost Spider, especially the higher difficulty levels. Only reason being is because that HP burn is not super dependable. It's a 60% chance if the 2 Spiderlings are down on Frost Spider. If they're not, it's a 20% chance, you know? Granted, he does have the survivability in his kit, but I think if you have access to a more reliable burner when there's only 1 to 3 targets on the battlefield, I would rather go in that direction for for Frost Spider. Did I say Ice Golem earlier? For Frost Spider. But that's not to say, with all that said, it's not to say that he can't be used. And certainly in like a regen and an immortal set, I'm sure he can even duo Frost Spider, right? Maybe even solo, maybe duo or trio with like a Lydia to prevent the revival if that burns not always on the Frost Spider. Anyway, I'm getting pretty granular here, but just a note there that he's not my absolute fave, but hey, that's just me. Eternal Dragon, he gets a 5 out of 5. Keep in mind, again, on his A3, he has a 75% chance of increasing the cooldown of all skills by 2 turns on enemies under HP burn debuffs. So, of course, I do agree with a great option for the Eternal Dragon for you guys. And then Spider. I think he's an absolute monster for Spider normal mode, specifically Spider 25. That's where he really, really shines on anybody's account. He has a 4 multiplier on his A1. He has a 3.5. Keep in mind, these are defense-based multipliers on his A2. And then he has another 3.5 on his A3. Now, honestly, these multipliers, 3.5 defense on 2 AoEs, are actually pretty significant, you know? Considering he has a 1300 base defense as well, he's hitting with his AoEs around the same as what you could expect from, I don't know, it's hard because you can't Valkyrie has a 3.5 or a 3 defensive multiplier on her AoE, but she has a 1600 base defense. So it's really hard to compare because of that base defense number. But I guess a Hoskarul or a Crush the Mangler would be a better comp in terms of what kind of damage we can expect if you were to build him, you know, as a nuker on top of a burner, right, on your team. All that being said, we talked about the multipliers. Let's go ahead and take a look at how I have him built here today, guys. All right, guys, so here he is in all his glory. I went for the probably the most popular setup, the most popular build on this champion is going to be triple perception, right? Or triple accuracy. I love perception because we can build him fast enough. Obviously, want our burner to go pretty soon in the battle, right? I built him for some damage, but not min-maxing his damage in terms of AoE nukes on this dude, right? We did build him with 84% crit rate, which is really nice, 125% crit damage. Most importantly, in terms of stats on this champion, though, are going to be accuracy. Like, number 1 stat is accuracy because we want to land his burns. Number 2 stat is going to be HP because we want a big shield from that A3 ability, okay? So again, stat priorities, accuracy, HP, speed. After that, start stacking on some crit rate and some crit damage because you can get some power out of those AoEs. Now, one thing I will mention, for Spider 25 or for Spider any level that you want him to act as your main burner, you may not want to build him with a bunch of crit rate and crit damage, because perhaps you are not trying to kill all the spiderlings. You want to keep them alive so the burn does more damage for longer and kills the main spider. So that might be a situation where you do not want to build him with a bunch of crit rate and crit damage as well. Maybe you want to pair him with a stunner or somebody like Scylla the Drakes or Miscreated Monster or whatever. Maybe that would be a better route to go. So sometimes you don't necessarily need, nor do you want, all that crit rate and crit damage. So he has Perception, as I said, triple set. We have HP percentage on the gauntlets. I tried to build them like I would build a nuker with crit damage on the gauntlets, meaning I looked for crit rate as substats, but I didn't prioritize it as a main stat on gauntlets or really anywhere else, right? So I just looked for it where I could find it. HP percentage on the chest, HP percentage on the gauntlets, speed on the boots. We have accuracy on the banner. We have crit damage on the amulet. You can go HP as well if you're not looking for the extra damage from this guy. And then HP on the ring, okay? Those are going to be the main stats that we're looking for on the artifacts and the accessories. I do have Cruelty as a blessing for him. Decrease each target's defense by 1% per hit. Hey, I mean, might as well, right? Again, this dude does have 2 AoEs. He's going to be hitting a lot. Might as well start decreasing defense at the same time. Another option, if I didn't go this route, I would probably go with Commanding Presence. I think Commanding Presence is going to be the obvious choice. Strengthen my team's aura. Give a little bit more HP if you can get him to 2-star or 4-star as well, right? So those are the stats. Masteries on this dude. Kept it really basic here, guys. Check it out. We went with, sorry for half of my wall hanging out. Oh, so embarrassing. We have the accuracy on the support tree, and we have the offensive tree. That's it. Now, importantly, Swarm Smiter, I'm sorry, all 3 of the accuracy, I'm going to push myself back over here, hope you don't mind. All 3 of the accuracy masteries, right? And then we do have Master Hexer to extend the duration of the burns. That's really important, right? And then Sniper, super important. That brings it up for a 25% base on the HP burn, which doesn't sound like much, but it's incredibly valuable. So the Sniper, the Master Hexer are going to be imperative. And I also love Arcane Celerity. That's a 30% chance of increasing the turn meter by 10% when a debuff cast by this champion is removed or expires. So obviously, all of those burns expiring on the Spiderlings is going to give us a lot of chances at increased turn meter, getting him back to his next turn even faster. The other option, and if you don't want to go offense, you can put this dude, I've seen some people put him in a stun set. He has 2 AoEs in his kit. So throw him in a stun set. Instead of going offense with War Master, come down the defense tree, come down Defiant, come down, actually, my bad, come down Tough Skin, come down Blast Proof, Rejuvenation, go with Resurgent, go with Delay Death, come down with Retribution, and then end with Fearsome Presence to get that stun up to a 23% chance on the stun set, and obviously go with 1 perception, 1 stun set. Let's go ahead and try this dude out. Enough talking about him, Ash. All right, guys, let's just take him right into where he shines the most again, in my opinion, and that is Spider's Den. So Spider's Den, stage 24, right, in terms of energy optimization for farming, a great place to farm, and him being Magic Affinity is a great place to farm there, right? Stage 25, he works as well. A champion like a Skrank or a Mordecai going to also be serviceable because of their affinities, but he works being Magic Affinity on stage 25 as well. So let's go ahead and tackle stage 25, not with my main team, don't worry, with a team that I have assembled just for today's video. Now, as I pull this team up here, guys, I did want to mention one last thing. Wave content for progression, he's actually pretty dang good there too, because again, think about it. He's bringing the skill cooldowns. He's bringing the burn, which again, with 5 enemies alive, that's going to be 100% burn against Doom Tower waves, against Cursed City waves, right? You could throw him in a stun set for more control, right? So he's bringing a lot to the table, and that shield on top of all of that. So do not sleep on him in Cursed City content. I checked before this video. We have a new rotation at the time of this recording, so there's nothing that's Akoth specific, but do not sleep on this champion for wave content. He's tanky too, so he's easy to keep alive. Same thing goes with secret rooms in Doom Tower, or just Doom Tower in general on the waves, on the floors. That would be, outside of Spider, probably my favorite area personally for this champion. Okay, let's go in. Stop talking about him, Ash, and start using him, dude. Here we go. So, as you can see, we already have enough spiderlings to make sure that we have 100% burn ready for the team. I'm just going to go in here with Reliquary Tenders A1. Now, Sinesha is not important on this team. I love Sinesha, though. But she's there just to stun the spiderling. She's in a stun set. She lands 2. Man, what are the odds? I guess probably about accurate, right? Now we can come in with the A2. You can see how big and hulking he is. I love the aesthetics on this dude, right? We can go in, we can land the burn, and that burn is indeed going to land on absolutely everybody, including the mother spider herself. Now we can come in here and stun almost everybody with Syl the Drakes. So as I was saying earlier, we don't necessarily want those spiderlings to all die, right? We'd rather them stay alive, continue to be stunned, and just chill. So now we have a shield up already, so I'm not going to use his A3 ability. We could, again, you know, put the cooldowns, increase the cooldowns, add the shields, do some damage based on defense, but we don't want to do that here. Instead, we just want to go in with the A1, land that decreased crit rate. Again, it's a very, very underrated debuff. It's not the best debuff in the game. It's not an essential debuff, but it is an underrated debuff, right? So with this team, again, all that's really required is, I don't know, maybe a Reliquary Tender or a UDK, just a bit of support and him. That's really it, right? So again, we come in here, can stun some of these. If you don't have a, you know, a good stunning option on your account, if you don't have a Syl the Drakes yet, I think you'd probably have Syl the Drakes by the time you unlocked him, though, wouldn't you? Either way, now we can go in with the AoE here. You can see the damage isn't crazy. He does have War Master again, keep that in mind. But most importantly, these burns are ticking off, right? And that's what we really care about most. As a matter of fact, we're not going to go in with Ultimate Death Knight's A2 ability. Instead, we're just going to kind of keep hammering away at the spider with single target. So that one first attack does go off. But we're already back to the burn, or I should say, no, the first attack, the first heal, excuse me, does go off. Obviously, that's going to happen, but we're ready to go here. So we're going right back into it again. Now, you can make this run a hell of a lot faster. I'm actually just going to put it on auto from here on out, right? You can make this run a hell of a lot faster by adding in, I don't know, like a Newt, if you happen to have Newt. If you have any of those OP enemy max HP champions to put on the team, yeah, you can make this run quite a bit faster than it is. But I guess I wanted to keep it really basic. Just support champions and Akoth the Seared, just to show that you don't need to, especially when you're progressing. All you need is the burns. That's all you need. Some control is nice as well, but eventually the burns will get the job done. And Akoth, again, is really second to none, especially against Spirit Affinity and Magic Affinity. I guess maybe second to Mordecai there. But as a burner on your team, right? Now, the thing is, in this game, there's been so many good burners released in the last year or two that I feel like since he was released, Akoth the Seared, he's starting to be replaced here and there by other burning options. But again, that doesn't take anything away from the champion in a vacuum. He's farming here on this team where there's literally nothing else really doing damage, but he's farming a 3.5-minute spider run just off of his burns alone, right? If you put him with an Akoth the Seared, Atek the Wenderin, all these A names, man. If you put him with an Atek the Wenderin, he's even more formidable, right? He's going to get turn meter fill. He's going to get heals as well. Anyway, we can sell this. I wanted to show you, you know what? Let me just show you that combo because I think it's a really nice combo. Specifically, I wonder if we can just trio it. I would like to have, I wonder if I don't even need Syl the Drakes. Let me just see. Filter, Atek. Do I have Atek in my vault? I do. There we go. Hopefully he has gear on. Let's see what his stats are here, guys. Yeah, good enough. Good enough. So, Atek the Wenderin, one of my favorite combos here, guys, because on his passive, excuse me, he has, first of all, he has freeze to CC everybody, which is great. Can land the decreased attack on Reliquary Tenders A1. So now we can burn everybody. And now we can come in here with the A3 and freeze now all these spiderlings. And basically, we just sit back and let everything, let the burn do all the work while everybody's frozen. We just buff up with Atek, and this has got to be like one of my favorite combinations in the game, guys. Atek the Wenderin. If you don't have him, or you have it, or if you have him and you have him vaulted, I should say, do not sleep on this dude, man. He's the best tandem kind of pairing or combo for a burner out there in the game, in my opinion, specifically on Spider, because if we go to his passive here, heals all allies by 5% of their HP every time an enemy under a burn gets a turn. Fills a turn meter of all allies by 10% every time an enemy under a, yes, freeze gets a turn. So just look at these turn meters here, guys. I mean, it's going to feel like they're basically just instantly going as soon as they start getting turns here, right? And again, now that we went through the first heal cycle here, we can easily 3-man or woman or Atek this team here, right? So I love this combo. Again, it doesn't require Atek the Akoth the Seared to execute this strategy. It just requires a burner on the same team as Atek the Wenderin. But if you're looking through to kind of not even, I won't even call it cheesing the content, but if you're looking for, I think, the most formidable, again, tandem or combo out there, look no further. You could put in a UDK if you need help. You can see that Relic Retender actually just died there. We're already back to our, we go with the A3. I'm not sure if we were back to the shield or the burn or not. Now we certainly are. And now you can see all of those ticks just going off and off and off. Spiderlings aren't even getting a turn for a while because of the freeze. We're keeping Akoth alive, at least for the time being. We have another freeze coming in. We're going to get heals of all those burns taking turns, and then the spider goes down. So again, Atek the Wenderin, Akoth the Seared, don't forget that tandem. Honestly, if we have like regen or immortal gear or a little bit more healing on the team, I don't think we'd even need a Relic Retender or a Soul of Drakes or anything like that. I did want to quickly show you guys what I was talking about with Sorath, the Frost Spider, in Doom Tower before I let you guys go. Here we go. Doom Tower. This is the final boss on hard mode, okay? This is the team that I use, basically a Trunda, a nuker, and a burner, so Walking Tomb Drang, because he can't be resisted on his A2. And then I like Lydia on my team because she denies the revival. You don't have to make sure there's a burn on the spider, right? However, you could use... Actually, let me just go back to this team. I'm just going to keep the exact same team, but I'm just going to replace Akoth the Seared. Now, I'm also going to need healing here because... he doesn't have a heal like what's this? Walking Tomb Drang has a heal there, right? So he can keep himself healed and just solo the spider himself. So I don't know. Let's put like a Wither the Crowned. I'm just trying to put any healer on the team who I know has good heals, right? Could have went with Marichka. But let me come back to you when we get to the spider. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. All right, guys, here we go against the Frost Spider. So, as you'll start to see here, we do have a 60% chance at landing, actually a 65% chance at landing that HP burn. And we're able to get it to land on both of the spiderlings there on the first go-round before I remembered to look at my screen. The reason he's good is because a 65% burn is not too bad, and he has some decent survivability, of course, with his shield that he brings to the table as well. He can also mitigate big hits with the decreased crit rate. So those are all the reasons that I really do like this champion against the Frost Spider. The reasons I don't love this champion against the Frost Spider is, again, he doesn't have that 100% landing of a burn, and... you know, I mean, I just think it's quite a bit slower than a 100% burner like an Ignatius or a Walking Tomb Drang. However, there are circumstances where you might not have all of those other aforementioned champions, right? But even a Skrank, even a Mordecai, I still think personally I would prefer them in Frost Spider. Akoth the Seared is kind of like, hey, Ash, I only have 1 or 2 burners built on my entire account, and I need somebody who can land a decent AoE burn against the Frost Spider, right? That's where I do recommend using him, because obviously these burns, it's important that they're on AoE because we want the burns to land on the little spiderlings, right? That way they can tick off on the on Sorath as well. But it might take you a little bit longer because, as we mentioned, Sorath has to be under a burn. So unless you're when he dies, so unless you're running a Lydia on the same team, you're gonna have to, it might take a while to make sure that burn is on the actual spider. So TLDR, gets the job done, Akoth the Seared against Sorath the Frost Spider, but might take longer than another burner with a more dependable burn land rate, provided, again, it is an AoE burner. Guys, that's all I have for you. I think we'd kill the Frost Spider, but I think it'll probably take us about 20 minutes. So I'm going to let you go here. Keep the champion guide requests coming. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.